Okay, so we're going to try this again. I've done this like 6 or 7 times already. Alright, my name is Glenn, and I'm the right hand. I've recruited most of you folks here. Uh, Today we're going to talk a little bit about training your teams. A couple of you need a little bit of extra help. Uh, Before we start this, let me just preface this with I don't think I'm better than you. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. This is merely a suggestion. You can follow it or not follow it. If you follow it, your players will get better. May take a little while, may take a little training time, but they will get better. First of all, when you train, I always do 4-hour training. I do that 6 times a day. And of course, then you have a bunch of players with points that you can use later on. We're going to look at several positions, and we're going to look at the stats that you give these players to help your team. First player we're going to look at is our quarterback. Quarterback, we're going to start in the physical and mental. Any player, I don't care who it is on your team, you start with stamina. You don't want your players getting tired in the fourth quarter. Then you give them speed, and you go to carry. On the defensive skills, give them carry. They don't need any other skills unless you plan on using them somewhere else. If they're a wide receiver, then give them receiving, reception range. Then, of course, the three that the quarterback needs: pass accuracy, passing strength, pass distance, accuracy. Give them attack acceleration if you want to run them a little bit, and, of course, give them toughness. This guy is still kind of new, so he doesn't have all the toughness he needs yet. That helps your players keep from getting injured. All right, look at wide receivers. Now, your wide receivers and running backs are going to have a lot of the same stats. So you can train them the same. You can choose to give them blocking. Some players use wide receivers and running backs as blockers. I don't. I use offensive linemen as blockers. I have my running backs or wide receivers come out of the backfield. Start off with stamina, speed, then you could give them blocking if you want. You don't have to. On the defensive thing here, you give them receiving and give them reception range. I don't have this guy at full reception range because I don't run my wide receivers or running backs down the field for long passes. Also, you'll notice this guy's got defensive skills here. I'm still training on this guy, but I'm going to put him in on kick returns. So all your special teams players need to be able to tackle. Alright, so finally, on the offensive skills, they're going to need penetration strength, juke, attack acceleration, and then toughness. Penetration strength, if you ever seen a defensive player or an offensive player run through your defense like he wasn't standing there, just like run through him, well, that's probably because he had a high penetration strength. And then juke, where they can stop on a dime, do a herc jerk, and then keep running and make you look silly like you weren't standing there. They juked you. Okay, like I said, the wide receivers and the running backs have very similar stats. You don't have to give them blocking. You can. Stamina, speed, carry. You want your backs to be able to hold on to the football. Receiving, again, I don't give them, well, this one's got maximum receiving range, but I don't normally give that to them. Penetration strength, juke, attack acceleration, toughness. Now tight ends I use kind of as offensive linemen and as receivers and running backs. So you can get these all three. Start with stamina, speed, blocking, carry, receiving. Thought about training this guy as a kick returner. And then of course penetration strength, juke, toughness, and give him attack acceleration. Alright, so here we see that kind of one of the foolish things in the game. They give you two sets of offensive players here. Centers and offensive linemen. A center is an offensive lineman. Duh. Alright. This particular offensive lineman, they all have the same stats. Stamina, then you give them blocking, then you give them speed, because they don't really run, right? Well, this particular center was a backup quarterback. As you can see, he has maxed out stats. at one time I had one good quarterback and my other quarterback was still training, didn't have all the stats. And I figured if my good quarterback got hurt, I needed someone who could take over. And of course, as you can see, that was the result here in penetration strength, just in case he had to run with the football. In case you haven't figured it out yet, players are interchangeable. They have this new thing where you can pay 9 gold pieces and move a player to another part of the team. You don't have to do that. If you have an Android phone or a Apple phone, I'll show you how to do that in just a few moments. All right, again, offensive linemen, give them these 3. Now here's something here under offense. I don't know if penetration strength helps, like keeping your defense from busting through your line, but it doesn't hurt to give it to them. Alright, so we're going to move down a little bit. The next set of players is going to be the defenders. And the defenders are going to need stamina, speed. These are your defensive backs. Safeties and cornerbacks cover your wide receivers and running backs on the offense. They're going to need tackle, anti-juke, receiving, and reception range. Your defensive backs need maximum reception range. They have to be able to cover your opponent's wide receivers and running backs just in case they decide to run them for a long pass play. Give them strength, defense acceleration, and then give them hit power. This guy doesn't have it, but if your defender has hit power, they can separate the ball carrier from the ball. They can make them fumble. Here's I think this defensive back has a maximum hit power. As you can see, 150. Hits the player, knocks the ball loose. My linebackers have a lot of the same stats as my defensive backs, to be honest, but you can train them to be defensive linemen in case of a pinch. I should probably start doing that because I'm about to start facing a defensive lineman shortage with good stats. But give them stamina, speed, then you'd give them blocking if you wanted to do that, and then give them tackle, anti-juke, and I would give them receiving skills. Now this guy doesn't have the maximum reception range. I'm going to work on that. And then of course, like I said, give them hit power. Let them hit the ball carrier and separate them from the football. Defensive linemen, thing won't stop scrolling. Defensive linemen need the max 3, kind of like the offensive linemen. You train these 3 skills: stamina first, blocking, speed, tackle, anti-juke. You can start giving them receiving skills if you want, have them cover wide receivers and running backs. You don't have to, but you can. And of course, give them hit power to separate the ball carrier from the football. Now we're going to look at kickers and the kick returners. Now this kicker, I'm not going to show you just yet. I'm going to use him in another example in just a moment. This kicker is a linebacker. We'll get to that in a moment, like I just said. Okay, but your kicker is going to need, of course, stamina, speed. You can give them blocking if you want to help them get in there and tackle, I guess. Give them tackle. How many of you have kick returners and kickers with tackling stats? If you're wondering why your opponents are running through your defense and for touchdowns a lot, maybe because your team doesn't have good tackling stats on special teams. And then of course give them the kicker stats: kick accuracy, kicking power. And then do the same for your kick returners: stamina, speed. Give them kick return. You can give them carry. I'm going to start doing that. I mean, it don't hurt. I've never seen a kick returner fumble a football on a kickoff. It could happen, but I haven't seen it. And then give them penetration strength, juke. And that's those players. Like I was saying a while ago, they have a new policy where you can pay 9 gold pieces and move a player around to another part of your team. Like say you could take an offensive lineman and make them a defensive lineman. Well, I'm going to show you that I've done that, and I haven't paid anything. You see this right here. This is the kicker. That's that kicker I was showing you a while ago. And this guy's maxed out. This is a linebacker. And what I did was I went to special. I scrolled down to the player that I wanted. Okay, and remember, you do this in Android devices with touch screens. I think it may work in Apple phones with touch screens as well. Alright, scroll down to the player that you want. In this case it was it Jack? Yeah, I guess it was. Grab Jack and pull him here. Alright. Then with your other finger, touch the defense key over here. Alright, keep this player right here, touch the defense key with your other hand, and then you'll be on the defensive screen, and then just kind of drop this guy in what position you want him on the defense. I'm on my computer terminal right now, and I don't have a touch screen, so I can't do that here. But I could trade him for any of these positions here. You can make a defensive player an offensive player if they have the stats, or an offensive player into a defensive player if they have the stats. The possibilities are limitless. Okay, that's a rather quick wrap up. I'm sorry about the briefness of the video, but this is like free software. I'm using this in Linux. It's another operating system that competes with Windows. And I'm going to be uploading this to YouTube. This is kind of the test run. I've recorded this video like 10 times already with different software, and it sucks doing this again and again and again and again, saying the same things, trying to remember stuff. So anyway, in the future we're going to try to have more videos where we're going to walk through the economics of your city, the players to look for in the auction house, who you go after and who you shouldn't go after, and maybe even building. Alright, there's a little trick I told y'all about how I do on my pay. Have my guys set to maximum pay, and then at night, let's say like right now, if I don't want to pay these guys, I would build something. Let's say I want to upgrade my that's not cost enough. Let's say I want to upgrade this building. We're going to upgrade for 29 million. Alright, so tonight, as you can see here in the building, my pay is 13 million, right? Well, I only have 4 million. So when payday rolls around, what's going to happen is this. You'll see that this is dropped to 0. And of course, look at the morale. The morale is 0. These players couldn't win a game. Probably a 20-star player could beat you with your players like this. They're just really, really down. And so when that happens, if that happens, just take it and go back up and then click save. I can't do that now. I have to do that tonight. But that's how you make them happy. And see, the morale is at 100%. They're going to play their hearts out for you. That's how I do that. And then I would go back and stop the upgrading. I got my money back. This is after payday's over. I haven't paid any of the guys any money. I've still got my money. I've still got my players happy. And yeah, I know it's cheating, but hey, you do what you can, right? Alright, well, so that's the first training video on the books. It's a wrap. See you in the funny pages.